Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Aurum podcast. Today, the 11th of December, 2021. We are so glad that you could spare your Saturday morning to join us. I'm your host. My name is Anthony Kuria. And today I'm with my co-host, the in-house HR consultant, Zipporah Kuria. Zippy, say hi to our viewers.
Good morning, Anthony. Good morning, Frank. Good morning, viewers.
And we have our wonderful good friend, a friend that has worked with us the entrepreneurial journey the last 2 years, the one and only Frank Kitonga. Frank, karibu sana.
Asante, and good morning.
Wow. Frank, it's a privilege and it's a pleasure to host you here. I will introduce Frank more. Let me, before I continue too much, let me do formal introductions. Frank is if Frank, I'm not wrong, you're the country director of Nehemiah Project International Kenya. Ama nimekosea hapo kidogo. Probably I could be that is the official title, isn't it?
Yes.
Exactly. Frank is the country director of the Nehemiah Project Kenya, and he has been our coach. Let me just say that he has been our coach in business, and we asked him to come to our podcast today, the last podcast of the year, by the way, where we will be discussing human processes. This is the second and final installment of human resource processes. Sorry for that. Human resource processes. Number two, how they affect businesses and why you need to have these processes put in. Now, the Aurum podcast is hosted by Aurum Consultants, and Aurum Consultants is a HR and risk advisory consultancy, and we deal with all matters that relate with human capital in the workplace. And this podcast is geared to helping business people, entrepreneurs, employees, unravel some of the problems that come with the human resource aspect in the workplace. Now, to dive in, we don't have too much time. To dive into this, what we are discussing today, I'll direct this to my co-director, the in-house consultant, Zipporah. Now, Zippy, since we began this podcast about 1.5 years ago, and we've been discussing gradually more and more issues that business people face when running their businesses. Many of them wonder, why should I have HR in the first place? Why should I bother with HR processes in the first place? Can't I just employ somebody? My accountant can handle mambo administration. If I need to hire, I hire whoever I like. If I need to fire, I fire the one. I fire as required. It's my business. The person coming to work for me, they are coming. It's a privilege for them to come work for me. So, I sit and wonder, how can HR processes or any other business process promote the company health? Kindly unravel that for us.
Wow. Thank you, Anthony, for that question. Let me start by saying, like I alluded last week, HR is the heart of any business. And when we are talking about HR, we are talking about human resource. Human resource, we refer to people. Those are the human resources that you have. Those are the resources you've been given or you have gotten to help you run your business. So when you're talking about resources, you could look at resources in many ways. You look at resources as money, you can look at resources as stock, you can look at resources as people. So people is what we refer as human resources. And when we talk about processes, I think one of the things we need to understand, people like working in a place where there's order. When you don't have processes in place or systems in place, what happens is a lot of chaos and there's a lot of confusion, and your business will not be able to thrive. And you'll always be wondering what is happening, and you will keep on putting blame where it doesn't belong, simply because you don't have any systems in place. Now, when I talk about HR being the heart of people, is a heartbeat of the business. It's what people do that would enable your business to grow. But are those people able to work within an environment where there's no clear process? I think it's not practically possible. Yes, they might be able to do one or two things, but they'll be beating around the bush and they'll not be able to achieve much.
Okay.
Now, it's easy to manage people where there are systems and processes in place. And why are these processes important, or how do they promote the business health? I would say they promote the business health, number one, because there's clarity on how people need to to work. There's clarity of vision, for instance. Where is the business? What is the business all about? And people are able to understand that clarity. The other thing is there is clarity in terms of what they're supposed to be doing. And it's part of the processes we have to put in place when you're engaging people. What is the process of bringing someone in? Do they know what they're supposed to be doing? How do we induct them into the business? What kind of processes do we need to put in place so that there's clarity of the expectation to the employees that you are engaging? The other thing, of course, where there are processes, the working environment you find is good and it reduces conflict. When there are no processes in place and everyone is trying to do their thing the best way they know how, chances are there'll be a lot of conflict between employees, there'll be a lot of conflict between management and employees because everyone is in a state of confusion. No one has clarity what is supposed to be done, when and how and by who. So it's important for us to realize we can operate well and promote our business to that place of we are saying our company health is good without having any systems in place or any processes in place.
Okay. Frank, from your experience as an entrepreneur and as a coach, what can you say about having HR or any other business processes? How do they interact with a company's health?
The word I can use first is chaos.
Mhm.
Chaos is. I actually was given a business to run, Tony, and the first time I entered this business, I asked, so what was contracts existing? I was CEO.
Yes.
Some guys had contracts, others didn't have. What is the salary scale for somebody on this job? They said, no, we check based on where they came from. What are the job descriptions? What are the targets? Or let me tell you, it was chaotic. You couldn't determine where we're going to go as a business. And we had to rebuild all that. The lack of systems is chaos. And many of us entrepreneurs exist in chaotic scenarios in terms of systems. And you know what? Because we are the ones paying salaries, we imagine that therefore we can blame everybody else for it. Do you know who is responsible for processes and systems? There's only one individual, the one you're seeing in the mirror every morning. Only that one. And let me tell you what somebody said to us that was so harsh. So allow me to say this to your viewers, please, and everyone who's an entrepreneur, get over yourself. Sometimes I become so important in my business that I blame everyone for everything, and yet I am the person responsible to find the right person, to train them, to take them through evaluations, to improve them, to fire them. Fire. It's still my responsibility. So if I'm complaining about somebody and I've power to fire them, I shouldn't be complaining. So I know I've been a bit harsh today, Tony. But I'm just saying, when somebody said that to me as an entrepreneur, they really helped. They told me, hey, Frank, get over yourself. Wow. You are not the business. The business is separate from you. Make the business what it should, and the business will give you what it should. It can, as in it will produce for you the profit and the results and the impact you want. But when we over just, anyway, let me stop there by saying chaos is what you want to avoid. And systems enable you to change that and build a proper process.
Wow. Frank, they say entrepreneurs because, jumping into the world of entrepreneurship is like jumping into the ocean and there you want to fish. But as you are attempting to fish, there are sharks and there are whales and they are giant octopuses, which, if they had a chance, they will eat you alive. So, in a sense, what you've just described is telling an entrepreneur, dude, you have decided to jump into shark-infested waters, so you better know the blunt truth very early. And to our viewers and listeners, if indeed you've liked what Frank has just said, and you'd like to send a question, we are live on Facebook. If you want to send a question, a comment to understand what did you mean that get over yourself, that's a bit harsh, or you think what Frank has just said hits the nail on the head, kindly send us your comments. We'd love to look at them. We'd love to highlight them even as we go, and we will we'll keep highlighting them as we go. Now, Frank, now that you have said,
Tony, I have a question to Frank, even as you continue, because I've had this from entrepreneurs as I interact with them as an HR consultant, where you find someone says, we don't have processes, or we don't have systems, or these systems are not working. So who is responsible? Is it the employee? Is it the business person? Because a lot of blame is always directed towards the employee. And like you said, I think when there's chaos promotes more chaos. So it becomes a marketplace. I don't know whether you've ever gone to Marigiti and you see the chaos that is there. And there's someone who is supposed to be on top trying to make sure there's order. So Frank, I don't know what your opinion would be on that.
Yeah, so, and I think I lost a bit there at the very end, but you're basically asking who's responsible.
Correct.
Let me say this. You've got to produce results as an entrepreneur or as a business leader, because this also goes with you as a business. You've got to produce results. What are the results you're looking for? You're looking for profit and sustainability, or sustainability and profit. You want to get results of profit. You want to impact your customers correctly. You want to, get the product to them correctly the way you want, and you want to grow your business. Who is ultimately responsible for that? If you're the one who is responsible for the P&L of the business, the balance sheet of the business, then you are responsible for the tools and the people that are used to produce that result. So the person who is primarily responsible, Zippy, I actually had that question. I told one of as I coach, I told the guy, did you know that the CEO is responsible for the best sales director? Or the CEO is responsible for the marketing director? He said, no, that is the work of HR. I said, no, HR supports the CEO. The primary recruiter of the organization is the CEO of the business. Now, it may sound like it's. Let me tell you, whenever a new president is chosen, they choose their own team in State House or in White House. Whenever a new coach is given a team, they decide who are the people who are going to play for them in what position. It is the primary the person who is responsible for results is the person who decides the team he will have. HR will come and support the vision that the CEO provides. You see? So primarily we are responsible for the best people to serve. So if my best person is not doing the best, it is my responsibility to determine, are they the right person for the job? Okay. Yes. Do they have the skill set? Why are they not performing? Because they are not the right person, they are not the right fit. Get them out. Get the right person in. Okay, so they have the right disposition, they have the right understanding, but they are not delivering. Why? They may not have knowledge. It is my responsibility to plan that training. Granted that the person also is responsible to grow, but sometimes they can't see what I see. I'm the one who's leading, and I want the company to come from X to Y, and this job should be delivering X and Y. So therefore, I invite, I coach, and train. But then let me tell you, if there's something us CEOs must learn to do, is coach our people one-on-one. especially the people who report to us. You know why? Because it is ultimately my responsibility to help them deliver. And I'm a little passionate today, Zippy. I should be talking a bit, let me calm down.
That's a passion we need.
But this isn't something I've just seen, because I coach a lot of people. I coach a lot of people, and I know. Back to you guys.
Wow, Frank, you have said it as it is, because as I said earlier, the entrepreneur, the person who is launching out the business, the person running the business out there, the marketplace out there, I likened it to shark-infested waters. Shark-infested waters have a lot of fish, so you can harvest you can get a lot of results. But at the same time, there are predators who are ready to eat up your business, eat up you and your business if you're not careful. And that's why we are talking about processes. Now, Frank, let me bring your passion here by asking you another question or another point. At what point or when do you start putting up systems and processes in place? Do I start the business, keep running, and then as I'm running, I'm incorporating things and I'm running? Or do I begin and run with the systems and processes? Yes.
So that's a really good question. So let me tell you, we teach in our process or in our planning, there are 4 areas that you really must put in place in your business over a period of time. We say you need to deal with your sales and marketing, finance, operations, and people or admin. Okay, and we always ask entrepreneurs, as you grow, which one must you release first? Let me tell you the easiest one to start with somebody giving you support. It is administration. Because that one, if you can start setting the systems now, if you can start, the reality is this: when your business begins to grow, you can't do everything on your own. When you're still starting from a briefcase, you're scrolling, you're hustling, you can survive. But as soon as you start hitting certain numbers, I have 200 members in our community. I cannot possibly meet the needs of all those people on my own. I need other trainers and coaches. I need other people. If I decide I am going to meet all of them so that I can make all that money, the system will collapse. People will be dissatisfied. Clients that I have will be dissatisfied. So that's why you say, get over yourself. Why? Because I can't do it all on my own. That's the reality. If I'm going to hit the right numbers, so what do? Let me bring in people.
Yes.
How do you bring in people? Start building systems as early as you can. There's a system we call, this is not a discussion today, but it's called Succession. When should you start building a successor for your business? You start building your successor of the business on the business plan that is going to start the business. So that you already are thinking, what am I thinking 10 years from now, 30 years from now? What if something happened to me today? What happens to this business? So in my view, you start building this system. These 4 systems all must be done. In the beginning, they're all being done by the entrepreneur. But as the business grows, you begin to delegate them out. You begin to give them out one by one. I want to suggest many times admin is a good place to start giving away, or people management. If you can get even a consultant to come on the side, like what you guys do, or somebody who's beginning to tell you, oh, you know what, have the right job description. Let me tell you, and I said this very quickly, us very good entrepreneurs were very type D, yeah? We are go-getters, we are movers and shakers. We don't have time to write somebody a letter. Yeah? I have employed you. I tell you, I've employed you. Are you satisfied? You just wait for a salary at the end of the month. I'm more focused on my client and the door. So if I keep going in that type D, you end up in court. And let me tell you, You are in court one day, and because a guy you hired from Ushago, and now you have, and they are going to labor court. Why did nani unanipeleka enda? Ile siku, the day you arrive at that labor court is when you'll realize that that little system that government has put as a law can close you down. So start early. And if you can start with somebody and negotiate deals where you can start paying a little and start getting a system. Let me just say this. I don't think HR is the only system you need to deal with. You need to deal with the finance piece. That's the same way. Do the finance piece again. Deal with that as well. As you operations, also start building systems there. HR is one key one, but the business is about systems. In fact, business is a system. So if you don't create the systems that will support the system, the main system will collapse.
Come on. Wow. Frank, that's very profound. Zippy, what can you briefly add to that?
Wow, I love the passion Frank has, and I was saying earlier, that's the passion we need. And especially in this particular area, because a lot of times entrepreneurs, we get into challenges or problems because of system issues, because of process issues. And Frank has talked about, you hire someone from a country, you think you're helping this person until they take you to court. And why? Because there's probably no system in place, or the system is there and it was never followed. Now, that's another very big challenge with most of us entrepreneurs, where you find the systems are in place, the processes are in place, but we don't want to follow. We want to take shortcuts. So it's also one thing to have the processes in place and another one to follow. And when it comes to processes, let me just take an example, for instance, hiring and having to fire. What is the process we put in place? What are the checklists we put in place? And we must make sure we have followed this process. We are terminating for whatever reason. What is the process that must happen for us to terminate? A lot of times, and I'm sure Frank has probably, witnessed this or gone through this, is we like to take the shortcut because we think the shortcut is cheap, but it's never cheap. It's always very expensive. And like Frank has alluded, try and, visit the labor court, and you will want to go back and make sure your systems are not just in place, but they are being followed to the latter, because at the end of the day, it helps your business, number one, be stable. It helps the culture of the business. It helps even the name of the business. What kind of a name are you putting out there? When all these chaos are showing out there to your clients and everyone else who is watching. So I think it's important for us to think about, we need to put the systems and the processes in place as early as possible. I would say, if possible, start the moment you start engaging the first person. If you have not started in your plan, how you're going to have processes in place, as you start engaging people, start having that process, that system in place. Because the moment you don't have the system in place initially, you will keep doing things the wrong way. And before you realize, the business are so grown, and now you're starting to firefight. And a lot of times that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We firefight. And that's not what we are supposed to do. Let's not thrive in chaos. Let's find order in our businesses so that we can be able to fulfill the mandate that God has called us to fulfill.
Wow. Thank you, Zippy. Thank you for that. I can see from the comment section, Betty Musumba, I think she was asking the first question, responding to the first question, where we wondered, how can HR processes be put in place, and who is supposed to do that? And Betty, Frank answered that question. The buck stops with the CEO, with the chief executive. Ultimately, they are the ones. That's why they're chief executive anyway, because there is a chief finance officer. There could be a chief investment officer, chief risk officer. All these chief operations, but they all go. The hierarchy goes all up to the top, and that is why in places and in nations where things are done well, when blunders take place in a company or in a ministry, the chief executive resigns because you did not put in place, or you did not monitor what needs to take place beneath you to ensure that everything flows well. So I hope I have answered Betty correctly. Now, finally, I can see our time is almost up. But Frank, I know you have alluded this just now, but just give us a brief hint, your experience with businesses, or even your own path as an entrepreneur. What has it been with HR and other business processes? I know you give us briefly what has been your experience in that area. Frank, can you hear me? I don't know whether Frank, I don't know whether you had my question. What's your
They have
experience?
done all the mistakes. That's the only problem. Yes, I hear you guys. Can you hear?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
I hear you. I see you. You can't hear me.
We can. You can go ahead.
I did.
Yes, you can go ahead. You can go ahead. Tell us your experience in running business and being an entrepreneur. when it
There's a
comes to-
delay. I'm sorry about that. I hope you had me.
Yes.
But anyway, what was I saying? I was saying I've done all the mistakes, all the nice mistakes about HR. I've ignored. I've ignored the systems. Let me tell you, when you're running a business, you're more. Okay, so I was saying I've done all the mistakes in this thing, all the mistakes. Let me tell you, I have two personalities. I have a personality for social. I'm a sanguine, yeah, what's up, I'm that guy. I'm also a mean machine when I'm working. When I'm working, I'm a go-getter. When I want results. So this thing of, let's write this person a letter, or go through a process to determine the person you have hired. No. Zippy, I have no time. We need to sell. Let me tell you, I have you hire so quickly, and before you wake up to the mess that's been done to your clients. As in, I inherited a business where we were just being taken to court. I inherited it was just amazing how bad we were in terms of just court cases and whatever. So I know what it looks like. I have had people steal. I have people who've stolen chickens. Chickens. They have stolen the chickens that are giving us eggs. And we are selling eggs. And you don't have any evidence because you don't have the chicken. They ate it. So how do you prove he stole the chicken? So I've run all kinds of businesses. So I've been in corporate, I've been in business, I have my own people who I've hired, but I've learned something. Let me just say this is a bottom line. Honestly, let me just tell you, your team is more valuable to you than a client. And that is hard for me to say. My team will tell you. That's not easy for me to say. You know why? Because your team can chase your clients.
Wow.
That's very hard to say. Because you know what? It's like they are your family members and you have a visitor coming in. If your family members are rotten, the visitor who comes will get rotten treatment. That's why this whole team management process is very critical. I don't know, Tony, and I know you asked about my experience. My experience is a lot.
I can imagine.
I want to give more. Can I give you more info before I give you my experience?
Sure.
Have you heard of the 5 dysfunctions of a team? 5 dysfunctions of a team.
I've never heard of that.
That if it is possible for a team to be in one place, but they are not delivering results. Everyone in that team produces a result, only based on their own career or their own want. It's a dysfunction. When teams dysfunction, one of the first things they dysfunction for is they lack trust between each other. They are completely, they are not working, nothing, it's very serious. First dysfunction is lack of trust. And when people can't trust each other, they can't work together. Now you guys will invite me to finish the rest of the dysfunctions because our time is up. So that I leave you.
Wow. Frank, I would love to have you back. And definitely we would love to have you back to tell us the other 4 dysfunctions. In fact, Zippy, please write down 5 dysfunctions of a team that we may carry on this
podcast in January.
Yes, first one in January. We'll want to bring it. And to our viewers who are listening to us and wondering, who is this guy? Who is this guy who is talking like this? I probably did not introduce Frank well enough. Frank is as I said, is the country director for Nehemiah Project International, Kenya. Basically, Frank, what he does is, this is an organization that trains entrepreneurs in terms of business, especially in biblical entrepreneurship. And Frank has been training myself and Zippy as our coach. And some of these things that we are hearing here are things that we have heard before and running with them. And for entrepreneurs out there who want to know more, what is this guy saying? Because he's saying things that are very interesting. You can get in touch with us via the links that are at the bottom of your screen, via connections. That is email, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can get in touch with us to know more. First of all, about what we've discussed today, issues to do with HR processes. And Frank, kindly, I'm sure somebody out there their appetite has been whetted. Kindly share your details about what you do and how entrepreneurs can be helped by what you do at Nehemiah Kenya. I don't know whether, Frank, you've had my request. I know there's a bit of a time lag. Yeah.
So at Nehemiah Kenya, our most important role is to help kingdom businesses to grow and achieve their purposes. Whether the kingdom business is
Yeah, looks like Frank is struggling a bit with his internet connections. But if you'd like to get to know more about Frank, if you're listening to us, you'd like to get to know more about Frank, his contacts are frank@nehemiahproject.org. frank@nehemiahproject.org. Or if you'd like, if you can get in touch with us through here at Aurum Consultants to be able to to know more about business coaching and all that. But Zippy, we have come to the end of our podcast today. We have come to the end of discussing, our podcasts for this year. As we come to a close, what's your view? What's your viewpoint about how it has been discussing about HR processes, basically being with our viewers and listeners when it comes to this journey of human capital, solving the human capital challenges that businesses face?
Thank you, Anthony, for that. And like we shared earlier, this is a wide discussion that we can't even exhaust today. But what I would say is important for us to think about putting processes in place, not just HR processes, but different business processes. We need to put them in place. Because even for the other areas of our business where there are no processes in place, it all ends up going back to HR. So it's important for us to put business processes in place. And not only that, it's important to follow those processes. Because if we only put them in place and we don't follow through with them, then we'll not have resolved our challenges. We'll still continue experiencing challenges. So my advice is, let's look at our processes, let's implement the same, and let's make the best out of it.
Thank you, Zippy. And to our viewers and listeners, thank you for taking your time to join us today. This was the last podcast of the year, 2021. We thank you for taking your time to join us, even in the course of this whole year. We've discussed various aspects of HR and how they can be of benefit to you. And we've come to the end, and we thank you for your time. We will be back on air, as it were, on social media beginning of January. At the first or second week of January, we'll be back in air, and we'll continue this journey of enabling people out there, business people, employees, managers, and business owners understand the function of HR and how it integrates with the other business processes, and enable them maximize the potential of their business. Now, with as you've seen below there, we've put our contacts, both telephone, email, website, and social media. But with those few remarks, we want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Enjoy with your family and friends. Take care. And because we would like to be together with you next year. God bless you. Have happy holidays. Thank you.